Not a YouTuber, just like making videos. And gosh darn it, it's been a while. It's been a while since my last video, I think a couple of years. So I was really contemplating on when I come back into the game, what should I talk about, especially with everything going on with BLM, all these protests, racism, the coronavirus. I tell you, those that voted for Donald Trump, they really, I hope you got your money's worth. Never mind the bumps on my face. I've been wearing a mask, and a mask collect bacteria. Stop lying. Those are dick-sucking bumps. That comes from having your mouth up too close to a nigga's balls while you're giving them toppy. Man, what the hell are you talking about, Pinhead, man? No, 1619 Project, the 1944 Project, Marcy Projects or whatever, man. Nobody gives a shit about what you're talking about. People want to hear about celebrity junk. They want celebrity gossip, man. Nobody want to hear you try to spit an encyclopedia's worth of information in one of your damn 25 minute videos, man. You don't even know what the hell you're talking about. And look at your funny shaped head. No wonder why you wore a hat in all your old videos. I'm like, your head is shaped like, the show Mork and Mindy. That egg that Mork came out of? That's what your head is shaped like. Funny head shaped ass nigga. Shut up. Don't pay attention to this guy. But so I decided to start off when I come back to talk about the 1619 Project. And the 1619 Project was an essay written by a black woman by the name of Nicole Hanna Jones, I believe. It won a Pulitzer Prize. It was featured in the New York Times, and it might become a curriculum in school that maybe during Black History Month they're going to actually teach some of the do you know how to even talk, Pinhead? And I think that black people should definitely embrace the 1619 Project. It's pretty much looking at American history through our perspective, and how America, the foundation of this country, America itself, is so inextricably tied to slavery. The same way a farm is tied to its animals. No animals, no farm. Especially on the animal farm. And I'm not comparing black people to animals, but that's how they use this for. And what's going on nowadays is right up my alley. This is all I've been talking about. That's all my whole channel is dedicated to everything that's going on right now. All you do is watch my videos. So, and the 1619 Project, man, I find this fascinating. But what gets me, I was trying to talk to a friend of mine about the 1619 Project, and she didn't hear about it, and it's funny that, people know about Megan Thee Stallion getting shot, Kim Kardashian and Meek Mills, all this celebrity aspect about the 1619 Project is that Nicole stated that not only is the Civil War was over slavery, but also the Revolutionary War, that George Washington and the boys, they fought the British, to keep them, to keep slaves. To keep it rolling strong, and that makes a whole lot of sense. And that's probably one of the more controversial aspects, about this composition. I'm like, the 1619 Project has a lot of haters. There's a lot of, Ben Shapiro, there's been a lot, mainly Republicans, trying to dispute, making their retorts. And even if you disagree with some aspects of it, I'm like, as a whole body of work, there's truth. It's just undeniable truth. Now, like for instance, the British just wanted their colony back, and the British abolished slavery, I'm saying, before America. The British didn't even have a big war over it and so forth. But, England was not bringing slaves over to their country, not many, because there was enough cheap labor in their own country, and then slavery would cause a conflict between, the poor white people and so forth, and things of that sort. And and the thing is, people give credit to the British because the British also abolished the transatlantic slave trade. Slaves coming from Africa going on the Middle Passage. But the reason why, it wasn't that the British loved black people so much. They simply did not want these other colonies to gain too much power. So therefore, when the British, and it's funny how the British helped initiated slavery, this transatlantic slave trade, and all of a sudden they're like, oops, hey, we got to stop this. Or the chickens that come back home to roost. So the British, when they come across a slave boat and so forth, you would think that would be good for the slaves. Oh, the British is coming, they're about to free us. No, when the British confiscated a slave boat, they took the slaves and just killed them and threw them overboard. It ain't like they're going to be like, oh, we're going to sell you back to Africa, and to your nice village, and, we might give you a fruit basket or something like that. And the American colony, America, man, they really needed that. I'm like, man, we making so much money off this. I'm like, and the British is going to threaten to take this away. So when you're doing, I gotta catch my breath here. So when you figure the American Revolution, why did America seek for its independence? You figure all the stars were lined up. They were saying, hey man, we got our slaves, we got this real powerful economy here, we got all this land here, free land, our numbers, our population is getting up, and we go to war with Britain, they got to come across that pond. So we're going to have we're going to have the advantage, we're going to have the hometown advantage. I forgot that saying real quick, and so forth. And you have to understand that American presidents were aristocrats. A lot of what they did was, the forefathers was probably for their own fame, for their own names to be written down in the annals of history. These were rich, just not just white men, but rich white men. I didn't really pay attention to that. I always thought that the first American presidents, they may have been, just lived modestly. But these guys, they already had a strong plantation system in effect, before America went independent. And like I said before, this plantation system, to be president, you need money, and slavery paid for a lot of these presidencies. So they wasn't about to give that up, even though George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, even General Robert Lee condemned slavery. They thought it was a despicable institution. So why would you be a slave owner, when you despise this industry? Because you must understand, a lot of the infamous white men through American history, whether they're generals, diplomats, members of Congress, and the presidents and mayors and so forth, lawmakers, they grew up on a plantation. They grew up around slaves. They were taken care of by a black woman. Now, going back to General Robert Lee, he was another person that found slavery repulsive and immorally wrong, but was a slave owner himself. He stated this was his rationale, and probably a lot of white men's rationale, that slavery prepared black people that it prepared us. And boy, you know what I'm saying, what preparation did we have? And that quote by him, yeah, we can definitely use that and imply it, and that will work for our benefits. You know, the same way Senator Cotton stated that slavery was a necessary evil. But the thing is, since so many of these great American men had their upbringings in popular sovereignty, which that's just a fancy word for slavery or the slavery system in a state. They should have recognized the humanity of black people a long time ago, since a black woman spanked them on their bottom, but they helped reinforce a racial hierarchy which has caused conflict and caused people to suffer today. A lot of them, they was hypocrites, and it sounds good to, to despise slavery. We keep talking about the American presidents and these guys like, oh, they're men of their time. No, they knew about the horrors, how horrible shackle slavery was, because our forefathers, they actually thought they were living in modern times. We look back at the 1700s, like, oh man, that's ancient, that's not. But you know what I'm saying? Their first American presidents thought they were. They thought they was doing something brand new. To them, like the Romans were like ancient history. You know, they knew how horrible oppression and slavery was from the books they read about the ancient Romans and civilizations that came before them. But the thing is, you added a racial element there. I'm going to go into Thomas Jefferson, the guy who said all men are created equal, the author of the Declaration of Independence, and the third president of the United States. Now, you can't mention Jefferson's name without mentioning Sally Hemings. And let me roll this clip for you.
At the expansive Monticello estate, there sits a simple room with white walls, brick floors, and a single silhouette that represents the life of Sally Hemings, one of our third president's more than 600 slaves. The exhibit takes a definitive stance on her relationship with Thomas Jefferson and the children they had together. A story once hidden, now has the spotlight.
I knew that slave owners all over the South had relationships with slaves, so we knew I would Thomas Jefferson.
Lucian Truscott is Jefferson's sixth great-grandson.
As a descendant of Thomas Jefferson, I was even learning. When I was a kid, I jumped on Thomas Jefferson's bed.
Shannon Lanier is also Jefferson's sixth great-grandson, but he's from Sally Hemings' side.
My story's a little different from Lucian's because when we were studying the presidents in second grade, I stood up and I proudly said, Thomas Jefferson is my great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. And the teacher said, sit down and stop telling lies.
Come on out and meet your relatives.
In 1998, Truscott met his Hemings cousins for the first time on the Oprah Winfrey Show.
Phil proposed to me and she says, well, Lucian, now you met your Hemings cousins. What are you going to do now? And I went, oh my God, what am I going to do? And so I invited him to come to Monticello for the family reunion.
He was bringing the slave and the slave owners, children, descendants together for the first time. So there were a lot of people who did not want that to happen. And it also could mean that their possible icon, that Jefferson, was a rapist. And they didn't want that to be their ancestor. They didn't want that to be their hero.
Stand up here.
Now they're really not going to like me.
The Monticello Association, separate from the Monticello estate, voted not to allow the Hemings to be buried with other Jefferson descendants in this graveyard. This is your mom?
Yeah.
Should the descendants of Sally Hemings be also buried in the family?
Without a doubt. That graveyard is for Jefferson descendants, and they're Jefferson descendants.
Hundreds.
That clip there was two of Jefferson's descendants, one a white one and one a black one. And is it me or did that black one look like Nick Cannon? Yeah, that nigga did look like Nick Cannon. I ain't gonna lie to you. That nigga looked like Nick Cannon. So Nick Cannon could be related to the third president of the United States. And it did seem like they were kind of like roasting their great-great-great-grandfather or whatever. And they stated that what good is writing, saying all men are created equal and so forth, when you don't go out there and enforce it. If you don't live by the truths that you've written down, you know, yeah, that definitely makes you a hypocrite. And with these Sally Hemings, did you know he kept Sally Hemings in a cave-like structure? You know, I'm like, that's like, he didn't even give her the decency to put her in the bedroom. You know, with dolls, you know, because she's like, you know, just a little girl, you know, the dolls and toys to play with. And also, Thomas Jefferson is an adulterer, because I'm like, he was married. And when I think Thomas Jefferson was my motherfucking nigga, man, he was a pimp. And why are you worried about what another man does with his dick? I'm like, you what we call a dick watcher. You know, what are you, mad pinhead because you can't get inside of a girl's pleasure box? Oh, hating ass nigga. Think about these American presidents, man. It's pretty disgusting. You know, I'm like, a lot of them, they have like 300, 500 slaves. I'm like, that's a lot of freaking slaves for one person. You know what I'm saying? To manage over, to own. That means it just makes them seem like they're greedy, that they're gluttonous. You know, it's like our American presidents were a bunch of Scrooge McDucks. You know, at the end of the day, they cared more about their wealth, their legacy, their own, like, they were so self-absorbed, you know what I'm saying, rather than America, rather than making sure America ran smoothly, and that there's no problem, because a lot of these are problems that we have now. It started way back then. It started with the American presidents creating a racial hierarchy. You know, and take Abraham Lincoln. I'm like, did you know that Abraham Lincoln, you know, when he first initiated the war, it wasn't over slavery, it was to keep the Union, because he knew that he couldn't get soldiers to rally up for black people. And eventually, at like 2 years into the war, then he was like, okay, it's about the slaves. But Abraham Lincoln, he even stated that he is not about to dismantle white supremacy or the racial hierarchy. You know what I'm saying? The white people have put themselves up the top of the food train. You know, he did not believe that black people were equal to whites. You know, so we gotta look. We gotta really take a deep analysis about the concept, the mind state of our American presidents, and how what they did, you know what I'm saying, as great as they are, and we think they are, have caused problems in the long run. Now, one last thing before this video gets too long, one last thing I want to mention about the 1619 Project was how Nicole stated that black people are the true Americans. We're the true Americans. And because one thing, black people, we never denied anybody their rights. You know what I'm saying? We fought for our rights. We held white people's feet to the fire so they can make these truths possible. Because we believed in the Constitution. We believed in the Declaration of Independence. We believed that all men are created equal. But a lot of white people, they didn't believe that. A lot of white people was like, hey man, you know what I'm saying? As long as they got their white privilege and they're comfortable. Oh, you can't say that about white people. That's racist. White people are our friends. And so forth. They wasn't worried about black people. You know what I'm saying? I think one of the perks they thought when they got on them boats to come over here, one of the perks was like they'll have dominion over black people and Indians. You know, because a lot of them was like, man, in Europe, they were just an ordinary white person fighting over cattle. And trust me, you do not want to be a poor person in Europe. You know, but coming over here, like they felt special. You know, and then the fact that this nation's leaders told these white people, like, you know what I'm saying, hey, just be fruitful and multiply. You know, they just built you a log cabin and have all the kids you want. You know what I'm saying? Back then, it wasn't like a whole lot of tax. There wasn't like a police there. So therefore, white people, in their quest to suppress black people in the future, you know what I'm saying, created even obstacles for other white people, other things they didn't have to deal with. Like, for instance, there was no police back then. I think one of the American presidents said the idea of a police force is like giving each state their own private army. You know?